taking off with immediate effect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day three, day three of this amazing show, day three of Don't Let Your Girlfriend Stop You from Finding Your Wife. Day three of Why We Miss Our Diamonds while picking up stones. And as a matter of fact, that is what is happening to most people. My name is Mason I.B. West, College Director at the Love and Life Institute. And joining me again today is Victor Ayodele Oladija, all the way from Abuja, to take a deeper dive into this conversation and to dig out more truth and to put us on the path of light. It was Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe who said, shine the light, the people will find their way. Shine the light, the people will find their way. And that's basically what we are up and about. Shining the light so that whosoever wills can find their way. Yeah, Mr. Victor, welcome again to tonight's show. How has your day been?
My day has been fine. It's been great so far. I bless God.
What would you consider to be your major take home so far? Some of the high points for you since we started this conversation.
Of my day or of this meeting so far.
Of the conversation so far for the last
Oh,
few
okay.
days.
I think the conversation of yesterday was quite, um, I won't say engaging really, but it was really hardcore because if the man is supposed to be the head of the house, then certain things can be managed, but there are other things that cannot be managed. Yeah, if the head is faulty, then the whole body is really going to be in trouble. Sometimes you might not notice when the other component of the body are faulty. If the head manages properly, he can cover them. But when the head is the one with the problem, it will be very obvious. Very, very obvious. Unless the woman has developed a mechanism that is really grandeur, it will be obvious. So I think yesterday's talk was very important because it deals with the head himself.
All right, that is profound. Now, when you look at and I agree with you. Yesterday was not funny for the men, and there are not many men that are going to fall in love with us after the section of yesterday. Trust me. But the balance, we must always bring a balance to these conversations. Otherwise, we are not going to get it right. And then as we keep having this conversation, what comes to your mind about ladies who allow themselves, they are single, they're not married kind of, but they are like side chicks. They are into relationship with married people.
Mm.
What comes to your mind for such people when it comes to not letting your boyfriend hinder you from finding your husband?
Okay, so what I would say is it doesn't matter whether they believe in God or not, because you talk to certain people and they'll tell you, well, there's no religious moral restraint, because if you are a faithful believer, you will not even consider that. Let's talk from a very neutral perspective. Life is really a give and take. And what I mean in this is, in doing the things you are doing, you will develop a kind of distrust that will haunt you later in life. So it's like when you begin to date married men, automatically, especially if you date a lot of married men, in your mind, the unfaithfulness of married men is already an established fact. So it is based on your excesses, it's based on your escapades. But you begin to feel married men are so cheap, married men are so available, married men are so this, married men are so that. The moment you become a married woman, you already have a level of insecurity. You already have a level of distrust based on your own experience that you could probably have avoided. So it will build a kind of insecurity, a kind of distrust that is totally unnecessary. So, first of all, I would like to say it is unhealthy. It will help you to develop a very unhealthy mindset. You might not be able to keep a home eventually, not necessarily because you are reaping the fruit of what you've sown, but because you've developed a unhealthy mindset that will keep you in a loop. So it's like when you get into a relationship, you expect the man to cheat because you did it so much with many men that now you assume that it is the normal pattern. In fact, there are women that say those things. You hear them say all men cheat. Why? Because I have a lot of married men in my inbox. Yeah, so it's I think it will be very unhealthy in the long run because um you would see a part of life, a reality in life that is not supposed to be the ideal thing, and it will eventually roll over to become your experience.
Now, those are profound thoughts that you shared. I like the fact that you started that conversation by saying it does not matter whether you're a Christian, whether you believe in God, whether you don't believe in God, whatever your beliefs are. Everything we do in life, they are like seeds that we sow. The truth about seeds is that when we sow them, they are bound to germinate what our beliefs are, notwithstanding. They are like laws, they are like principles. The laws of gravity have no respect for your beliefs, it has no respect for your values, unless you invoke a superior law to suspend the laws of gravity. When you go up, you must come down. And so there are effects that these things, bring into our relationship equation. Now, taking that a little further, when a lady is prone to reducing herself, or maybe that's the word, reducing herself to a side chick, the probability is that such a lady will have a higher body count. And when a lady has a high body count, and let me clarify that this is not about hate, this is not about shaming, this is about understanding patterns, it's about understanding consequences, it's about understanding risks. And if you are a man, if you are a lady, then you must start thinking long term. And this matters often more than we think. And so when a lady is predisposed to being a side chick, the probability most of such ladies is that they have a very high body count. And it's not just about it showing how loose or cheap the woman makes of herself. It's that any woman that has had 15 or 20 men in her life over a period of time, the probability is that I have come to believe that whenever a lady says that, for example, you are not satisfying her in bed, for example,
Okay.
it, almost all of the times she's comparing you to somebody. She's
Yes.
comparing you to something. She's comparing you to past experiences. And so, in what sense do you think this has a way of making a lady allow herself or a boyfriend to make her miss her husband? In what sense do you think? Because you later get into a relationship, and now because you are going to be comparing somebody to somebody, you are
Yes, sir.
you become literally impossible to be satisfied. So, in what way do you think that can impact on this conversation?
Okay, sir. I think it's impacting lots. And how this happens is just like you said, when there is a lot of body count, it creates an insatiable desire. Now, there's something I used to say back then, and people used to always misinterpret it, but of course, I will keep saying it. You know, they would think you are saying it from a spiritual perspective, but it's not necessarily so. It's not even a spiritual thing. When I say anybody that you have a sexual interaction with, it leaves an imprint. Now, the reason why you don't know that there's an imprint is because the person you go to next does better than the previous. If you have a sexual interaction with one person, and then the next person you go to, you have a sexual interaction with them, and they don't do better than the previous, you will find yourself missing the person that you previously had a sexual interaction with. So it's like the person left a stamp. Yeah. So this set of people are very conscious about who they want to get married to. And the consciousness is not necessarily about whether the person is kind, gentle, all of those things are secondary. For them, the primary index is that the person should be good in bed. Now, if you have conversation with those kind of people, they will tell you, I cannot get married to somebody without first having sex with them. Because for me, it's important that I know that they are good in bed. Why? Because I've been exposed to several men over time. They don't say this, but then you understand that this is what they are trying to say. I've been exposed to several men over time, and so it is very hard to bring me down to a sexual peak. Before I can arrive at that place, it takes a lot of work. So that's actually very true, sir. The consistency in this action would, and you know, the thing about this whole sexual interaction is the body gets used to certain levels of pleasure. So you do it, it gets used to it. You have to increase the intensity. You have to keep increasing the intensity. It's one thing to do all of this exploration with the person you're married to, and so you guys are increasing the intensity together. It's another thing to intensify the intensity and then now go to somebody who is cold. And so it's like you have to start teaching them how to get to your level first of all, before you guys now build from that point. And then somehow it's possible that the best of someone is not up to the worst of the previous. And so subconsciously in the whole sexual interaction, you cannot help but think about that previous person. Yes. It has happened many times where a woman is making love to her husband and then she yells out the name of the ex. That already establishes the fact that the relationship has ended. Except if the guy is maybe Jesus Christ of Nigeria. So that's where all of these complications come in. A high body count would almost always be a doom statement. And it's not just to the lady alone, even though, of course, to the guy, what he does is that it creates an insatiable desire for more and more sexual interaction. So somehow, no matter what the lady does, you still want to have sex with other people because it's like the libido, the pressure is so high within you, and it cannot be contained. So you hear some women complain that their husband wants to have sex all the time. It's a great thing. I mean, all the time, like every single second of the day, because they're already used to this sexual interaction with multiple people, and it's like everybody's energy is at a peak. So truly, this whole high body count, it will create a lot of complications. So I totally agree with you, sir.
From the last set of points you made, one of the driving points there is the fact that the looseness or the cheapness that a high body count indicates is not only so for the lady, it's also so for the guy. That's one of the points you were raising there because it is believed that when a woman gives herself away easily, one of the very clear messages it sends is that access
Yes, sir.
is a kind of very low cost. It doesn't take anything to earn a person. The person just shows up. There's no exclusivity. It's just available for the highest bidder. And so at the end of the day, you eventually do two things. Now, one of the things I've observed is that when guys sleep with a lady during their boy talk, their guys' conversation, they talk about it a lot. Sometimes they even go to the extreme. to tell their fellow guys who they've slept with, what they've done with the person, what they're doing with the person. When you go to the girls' club, the girls sometimes, even though sometimes they might be more secretive than the guys, but they also have these conversations where they tell themselves what they're doing with who and what they're doing with what. There is a
Yes.
sense, if you ask me then, that as you share your stories among friends and colleagues, there is a sense in which you are either marketing yourself or demarketing yourself. Because
Mm,
at the end of the day, if your body count indicator is made public, there are people who, if they want to go into a relationship, they really do not care your background, your body count, where you're coming
yeah.
from, where you're going. Everything depends on people's purposes, their visions, their goals, their targets, their aspirations, and their expectations. But there are also other people, and in this case, the people who could have been your husband, who now get it filtered into their ears about your body count, and they're like, no, 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 I'm not going to go there. So there is a sense in which people take a lot of risk and do not care the impact of that risk in the decisions they're making and in the decisions other people will make concerning them. And so it becomes critical that we send a very strong message. So, see, almost all of the time, people, I said the other day that we are at a place where everybody is trying to blackmail God and make God look responsible for the outcome of their life. We must come to that point where we let people know that, listen, the heaven of heavens is, that belongs to God. The earth God has given to the sons of men. And whatever is happening in the earth realm is largely the direct product of man's choices. And until we become intentional with the choices we make and realize that they are directly responsible for our outcomes, we can continue to blame God for our not finding our husbands, or our not finding our wives, for the quality of the lives we live, for where we are at in life, our network, for our relationship work. But at the end of the day, the choices and the decisions that we're making on a daily basis, they are messing with us. Pastor Victor, what more do you have to tell our audience?
Okay, sir. So on a final note on this point, I would like to say people want to do certain things, but then dodge the responsibility for their actions. So they want to do stuff without necessarily facing the repercussions. So usually when people tell me stuff about, oh, I don't care, I'm going to sleep around, the body count does not really matter. In my mind, I'm like, do you, boo? Just know that whatever you are doing, there's a repercussion, and you have to be ready to face the repercussion. So for someone like me, I'm very particular about the whole body count affair, and it's probably because
When you say you are very particular about it, you got to dig
yes,
a
sir.
little deeper into that.
Okay,
Particular
sir.
about it, does that include the fact that you are interested in knowing the body count of a lady if you are going to take her any serious and do life with her? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I would probably prefer someone who has really not been so sexually exposed. And the reason is I really don't have the energy to fight a battle that I don't know if I'm equipped to win. Yeah, because I've observed over time that the whole body counting can become a very, very confusing situation eventually. You know, when somebody is exposed to so much sexual experience, um, in as much as the sexual activity or the sexual activeness will be an advantage in marriage, the problem, what cannot necessarily be checked, is whether or not that sexual energy will be trapped within the marriage, or whether you people are going to have a community wife. That means a wife that is yours, but she's also the wife of other people at the same time. So it's really hard to check all of that. And I say it all the time. I'm like, if you've been so much sexually exposed in time past, and now you're a believer, the effects of the exposure does not just automatically go away. You have to intentionally give yourself the therapy to the renewal of your mind, to intentional growth and discipleship in the understanding of scriptures. Because people usually will just feel at the moment I just say, Lord, I believe in you, I receive Jesus into my heart, whatever it is that has happened in the past has ceased. So all of the whole sexual thing doesn't really matter again. I'm saved now, I'm a believer. God has actually saved you. The problem is that your consciousness is already used to a particular lifestyle. That's why for many people, you're saved, but then the whole um, attachment to sexual activity, it takes God's grace and a period of time to figure out. So it is very important matter for you to undergo therapy. That means, and make it maybe a pastor therapist. That's someone who would tackle it from the spiritual and physical standpoint. Yeah. Even if the spiritual standpoint, every human being in Christ is a new creature. That's really nice. If you really got saved and then you were um you know, brought into the understanding of what really happened at salvation, then that should be dealt with. But the physical part, you have to be walked through it. Because I know a lot of situations where people had a very active sexual life. Now they love God, they are really passionate about God, they are in church. But then the tendency shows up every now and then. So you can see a guy, I think it's Pastor Omolein, that was talking about a particular person who his gift was impregnating women in church. That was his gift. And all of them were giving birth to twins. It was almost like an impartation. So that's what happened because he was so exposed to a life of continuous sexual interaction. He got saved, came into church, but didn't give himself to transformation, didn't give himself to therapy where his mind will be renewed, where he will come into a understanding that this is just a show from your past. This is not who you are now. Yeah, and so he just continued in that progression. The only difference is before he was doing it with club girls, now he's doing it with church girls. And because he was kind of highly placed, maybe the ladies thought that sleeping with this guy is an impartation for growth in God. I don't know how they achieve the art of having so many people sleep with them at the same time, you know. But that's for me, that's it. So I will not necessarily say I am very particular in that regard. It's either there is very little sexual exposure or it is somebody who being exposed to a lot of sexual experience has really undergone transformation. But the problem is even the statistics, I don't even think it's in favor of that thing because sometimes it's just a little trigger. So you really underwent transformation and then you now get into a community that is retrogressive and then you find yourself in the old pattern. So to avoid a lot of stress, sometimes it's just good to look out for little or no exposure so that you know that you are building from the scratch.
I like the balance you brought to that conversation towards the end of what it is that you say, because I was going to ask, most of the times we make a big
So,
deal out of body counts for ladies. Not much is said about body counts for guys. Whereas,
yes.
at the end of the day, whether it's a guy or a lady, when you become very used to, habitually used to sleeping with many people, your defense system, your boundaries, your threshold for self control, and that's what I'm going self control. Your threshold for being able to resist temptation, to hold back, to control yourself is extremely diminished. I don't know how in the world ladies get married to guys who sleep around and think that getting married automatically fixes that proclivity. I don't know how we arrive at that. So when we are proposed to, when we get engaged to somebody, we are not interested in their sexual history. We believe they loved us, they make profound promises, they're committed to us, and oftentimes in their commitment to us, we assume that they are faithful to us. Sometimes I've seen situations once, twice, 10 times where two people are in a relationship for whatever reason. They are committed to abstinence. But while they are not having sex with themselves as people who want to get married, It doesn't mean they were one either one of them was not sleeping with somebody else outside the relationship. So here you are practicing, as it were, abstinence with somebody. You propose to agree. Now you sleep around. And now you want to get married. You decide you want a church girl. Now you get to the church girl and she says the condition is no sex. Now you accept that there is no sex. And so between you and the girl you're dating, Christian girl, you're not having sex. But when you leave her, you're still going around, you're still having sex with other people. So what you can't get from her tentatively, you are able to get outside and then you get married. Now she does not know that you're sleeping around. She is impressed, satisfied, happy. I'm in a relationship with a guy. He doesn't sleep. We don't have sex. He's holy. He's pure. And she has no idea that that purity only ends with her. And now she gets into the marriage, and 6 months down the line, 2 years down the line, something happened. The things spilled. She discovers that he slept around and he's not able to sleep up over time. And then your heart is broken to wonder what in the world happened. But more often than not, when we get into relationships with people who are not careful to painstakingly observe and ensure that it is not enough that they're not having sex with us. It is important that they are not having sex, that they have capacity to hold back, they have capacity to abstain, they have capacity for self control, they have a sound mind. This is so important. I believe that high body counts, whether for the guy or for the lady, clearly indicates one clear thing. It speaks to their level of maturity, it speaks to their level of self control, and at the end of the day, what we have not also realized is that people are looking at us every step we take and everywhere we go. And people who are going somewhere, individuals, men and women of purpose, observing us, who are not emotion controlled and driven, who are objective in their making their decisions, whose decisions are controlled not by how they feel but also by how they think, are going to make up their mind whether it is us they want to do life with. And if we're not careful, we're going to be picking up stones and we're going to miss our time. Is Pastor Victor still there with me? Talk to us about self control.
Thank you very much, sir. So self-control is very vital, and the reason is there's a whole lot that is dependent on self-control. I think I say it all the time that our lives are interconnected. And so that you learn self-control in one thing will mean that it translates to self-control in a whole lot of other stuff. Many times the reason why people lack discipline is because of little areas like this where they've not been able to discipline themselves. Oh well, it's not really little, it's a massive area. So just like you said, it actually happens a lot of time. So two people come into a relationship and they are sworn to sexual purity, church and all of that. Maybe many of them, it's not even because they want to do it, it's because they know they will ask them before they allow them to get married. And so in a bid not to fall into the trap of saying yes, they say, okay, let's not do this. And then maybe because the guy has been exposed to so much sexual experiences in time past, he cannot stay without having sex. Yeah. But then the lady insists that this is what she wants. So just to allow her to, feel like what she wants is actually happening, then he goes behind the scene, has somebody who warms his bed from time to time, and then he keeps telling her, yes, we're committed to not having sex until marriage. They will pray, they will do whatever it is they are doing, and the girl is excited. It happens all the time. Sometimes it's the guy, sometimes it's the girl. I've seen these two unique scenarios. Yeah. I say it all the time. That's why it's not good to lie to ourselves. Yeah. If you're somebody who is committed to sexual purity, you don't want to have any sexual interaction till you're married, date someone who believes the same thing. It is very important. Vet their mindset from the beginning. Do you like this idea? Like, are you somebody who is, you want to follow scriptures, you want to follow the principles of abstinence until you're married? Yes. Know that that's actually their own. They are not just saying it because they want to please you. This is what they believe. This is what they practice. Vet their on their like belief system. Know that this is who they are before you go into that relationship, because it will be a futile effort at the end of the day. There are many people who went into relationships, they really believed what they were planning to do. Yeah, they believed it. They were sold to the idea of fidelity, of sexual purity, all of these things. But then you now enter into a relationship with somebody whose libido is at 99.999% because of so much sexual exposure. And so, first of all, you're attracted to this person, and then you guys are always together, and the person is always touching you, always, whispering into your ears, always giving you this stare in the eyes. You know, they are just communicating so much sexual energy to you. The truth is, eventually, it will weaken every single defense that you have. And then that's going to happen. And then the moment it happens once, it will keep happening. It's going to be consistent. Why? Because it's not even like, okay, both of us agreed to this, and then one day by mistake, it's not a mistake, it's intentional. They calculated it, they planned it, they executed it, and they will continue executing it. So the idea is this: date people who have like minds. If you want to abstain from premarital sex, date somebody who believes the same thing. And if you're somebody who you don't have any business with abstinence, date somebody who also believes the same thing. You're in a different WhatsApp group. We can begin to look for how to convince you that this is the Bible standpoint, or at least be with somebody who believes the same thing first of all, so that you guys can do whatever you want to do and then enjoy your life. Do you, boo, until we're able to show you from scriptures that that's not what the Bible says. Yeah, of course, most people who do it, they know. They are just not sold to the idea. Yeah, so this is basically my submission.
Now, you see this conversation we're having, not many people are going to be comfortable with this conversation, but let me say this, it may help. Now, this conversation is not about trying to control your life. It's not about trying to dictate for you what to do and how to do. It's not about, everybody preaches, virtually everybody talks about abstinence. My challenge as I interact with people is that not many people do it. It doesn't matter that they talk about it. Number two, the fact that not many people do it gives me another concern. And that concern is, I'm wondering, when we suggest that people should abstain, what do they think is going on in our mind? Is it just, are we just being preachy? Are we trying to be judgmental? Are we trying to cast aspersions? No, 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 no. 1,000 times no. The reason for these recommendations and prescriptions is because, listen, a lot of the times they will tell you that's his past. That's our past. Can I suggest this is not just about a past? In my view, it's her standard. It's his standard. When you um, allow just anybody have access to you, it shows the caliber of person that you are. It shows your standards. It shows your values, but that's not just it. It critically impacts what happens in the marriage proper. Some ladies don't give a damn whether the person they're allowing to be numbered among their body count is a drug dealer, whether it's a player, whether it's a person of no purpose. The point is, when you allow low quality people into the most private space of your life, what does it say about you? And what does it say about what you are, your threshold for managing pressure? Listen, listen. People do not have pressure that married life entails. People just assume that there is a security that being married by itself creates and brings. So they are wondering, I thought she's a married woman. How in the world could she do that? I thought he is married. He has a wife, for crying out loud. What does these other girls have that his wife does not have? Now, when people react like that, my basic reaction is they don't understand the dynamics of sexual self-control, sexual containment, sexual, you know, capacity for saying no, for being content, for being resilient. With that capacity, listen, almost all of the time, when you have this kind of background and history, you will be battling with ghosts that you don't know about. Even the person coming into a relationship with you will be battling with spirits that nobody knows about. The reason is because I think when we deeply understand the fact that everybody that sleeps with you leaves a part of them in you. Everybody that you sleep with, you leave a part of you in them. It is why the Bible says both of them become one flesh. The one flesh principle indicates that there is a deposit on you in whoever has intercourse with you. Now the question, if a part of you is left in everybody you've had sex with, and you have a body count of 20, how much of you is left in people? And how much of you is left with you? It is the reason why a lot of people have an identity crisis. It's a lot of people, the reason why a lot of people are not wholesome, they're not emotionally healthy, they're not mentally fit, they're not a complete pack. That is why they never ever feel complete unless they're in a relationship. Because they need therapy, they need healing, they need restoration to be able to come back to that place where they are sound mentally. And that fitness is critical for enabling anybody to be able to be productive, to live a fulfilled married life. It is so important that we come to that place where we realize that what we're doing today is impacting, is designing our future. And the sooner we realize that life is so dynamic, it will give us back again what we have invested in life. And at that point, it's not village people, it's not God, it's not devil, it's not nobody, it's us. The sooner we come to that point, the better for us. Dr. Victor, do you think that sex has a way of rewiring our brains?
As a way of rewiring what I didn't hear that.
Rewiring our brains and how we see ourselves.
Yes, I actually do feel so. Yeah, I actually do feel so
Can you hear
because
me?
yes, sir, I actually do feel so because like I one of the days when we had this conversation, I think I gave an example of a lady who was in a toxic relationship, and then when you tell her to leave, she will tell you he's good in bed. Now that's a problem. That means her
And
ability for her
your,
to
I think
evaluate
we're
a
having a very,
situation.
are we having some network challenges? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know if you can hear me because I can hear you clearly. Um, we're so sorry for the network interruption. I think there's a little technical hitch. So give us a few minutes and then we'll be back. Welcome back, sir. I apologize for the network disruption. The network is quite bad over at Pastor Mason's end. He's attempting to reconnect again and he will soon be back here with us. So please let's hold out a bit for him to reconnect because tonight's conversation is quite interesting and we can't wait to have the entire scope of what we're talking about tonight. So please let's just hold on and a bit until he's able to reconnect again. Thank you very much to everybody who is currently streaming. Okay, I think we should just like keep having this conversation until Pastor Mason is able to rejoin again. So just like we've been saying from the beginning, um, there is a level of lack of self-control that is a direct resultant of not being able to control our sexual explorations. That when you see a person who has been through so many sexual experience, it comes with a level of lack of discipline. Yeah. Um, it happens that way because there is a way that not having discipline in this regards will tell on every single area of their lives. And then the main problem is that in marriage, whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, whatever your culture, whatever your religion, there is one thing that is very common. Everybody wants to have a faithful partner. And with every sexual experience, you are one step away from conditioning yourself not to be a faithful partner. So it's highly possible for you to have finished all of this sexual exploitation and then get married and then have a happy home, do everything right, have the rest of your life nice, beautiful, and all. But the main problem with this particular scenario is that the trigger is very close. So you really might have made up your mind to change, but then somehow the person who you had the highest sexual experience with, maybe one ex in your past that you only could not get married to because she has bad character. Everything else is good, just the character is bad. But because of um this whole thing, you now lean on and then get married to her, to someone else who will give you peace of mind, and then that ex somehow comes into your space again. So you are already almost into the cheating life again. You're going to sleep with her, and probably it would reignite in you the passion to begin to sleep with other people apart from your partner. So it's easier to put a lead on it when there has been discipline, there has been self-control from the start. When you don't have any lead on it, you literally sleep with anything in skirt. You are conditioning yourself as a ticking time bomb. When you do the commitment on the altar and you say it's together forever, it will not work because you've already conditioned yourself not to be faithful. So these are the thoughts that I and Pastor Mason are putting together to get this night, and the network is really bad, so it has not allowed him to rejoin. But I think he's still making attempts to rejoin, and maybe when he comes in, we'll just do the closing formalities for tonight, and then continue the conversation tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is actually the final day, and the final day means we're going to do a lot of hot and spicy talk. So do well to mark your calendars, prepare to be present in the live webinar tomorrow, so that we can finalize what we have been doing for the last 7 days. So this talk on body count is very important. You might not mind, but maybe the reason why you don't mind is because you also have a high body count, and then it's like, well, I have a high body count in the first place. The problem is your best sexual partner might not is different from the best sexual partner of your partner. So it's like both of you are already attached to two different people, and they might do certain things in different ways. I remember having a conversation with someone, a friend, and then she said there is a particular sexual act that's not coitus now. There's a particular sexual act that she doesn't do no more. The reason is somebody in her past did it so well that no other person has been able to beat his record. And so because of that, she has literally made up her mind not to do that with anybody else, because it's like the next 2, 3, 4 people that tried it, it didn't work out. Now, these are sexual experiences that she was supposed to explore with her partner, but now because of a few bad experiences, or because of one good experience and a couple of bad experiences, it has been completely eliminated. I know someone who will tell you that it doesn't matter how many people she has sex with, like, or whoever, or how good the person is, she must eventually self-stimulate. She must get to touch herself after the whole sexual action. If not, there's not going to be, it won't lead to anything, basically. She can never achieve a sexual peak on her own again, because her whole sexuality has been extended to a point that it needs rigorous participation. For some people, they even want you to be physical. They want you to introduce pain, because if pain is not introduced to the equation, it's not going to cut it. So yes, so Pastor Mason is back. I'm going to allow him to speak right now. So yeah, thank you very much. Welcome back, sir. Okay.
Issues here, okay?
Yes,
Can you get
I was
me?
just trying to keep the conversation going while you were trying to reconnect. So welcome back, sir.
Okay. So you are trying to do what?
I said I was trying to keep the conversation going while you were trying to reconnect. So I was just expanding on one or two of the points that you have made previously.
All right, so that's lovely. So we're going to cap it up right away. And the way we're going to cap it up is we're going to, I know you have said a lot during when I was locked out technically, but we're still going to take your final thoughts. We're still going to take your final thoughts. I believe that high body counts do not just come with a past. Everybody that has very high body counts, it comes with trauma, it comes with baggage, comes with all kinds of energy and emotional scars. People become desensitized and their partners will pay. If it doesn't affect them having access to their husband or their wife, then eventually they are going to pay the price. Let's have your final thoughts.
Okay, so on a final note tonight, just like we've said, it's very important that you develop a level of discipline in this regard. I was talking to a friend of mine, and many people would relate to it. So we have conversations, and it's like you tell them things like, okay, I don't sleep around in the regular version, in the regular way where everybody just having sex with everybody, and they're like, pastor. And I'm like, it's not necessarily because of the pastor thing. Even the days where I was not necessarily like serious with God, there was no active interaction. I had this thing that I had set in my mind where I can only have this kind of interaction with someone who I share a very deep connection with. And the reason why I had to put that clause is because I knew myself. I wasn't somebody who would just readily jump into a very deep bond with somebody. It would take a lot of time and stress. So it's almost like I made it almost impossible for me to have a sexual interaction with anybody. Yeah. So the discipline will eventually help out. You might not know what's going on now. This generation makes it look like when you don't have active sexual interaction with 20 people, 30 people, they make it look like you are missing a lot. You are suffering. How can you say, how can I be eating rice and beans every day of my life when I can mix it with okra and, draw soup? Those kinds of talk that people talk, they tell you it's not exciting. How can you say you have sex with only one person all your life? Yeah. The truth is, um, sexual exploration, there's no boundary to it. Just like I remember you saying one of those times, Pastor Nathan, I remember that you've said it several times before that sexual exploration in a marriage union, there are really no boundaries. It is a heterosexual relationship, it is a one husband, one wife, and it is based on mutual agreement and anything you want to do, literally, that both of you have agreed upon, that you can find a way to do, is your business. It's you have the ability and the time to explore each other. I was telling someone, I don't know, there are like 1,000 or more sex styles in this world. You have enough time when you're married. Like you're going for 50, 60 years. There's a lot of time to do a lot of things. Yeah. So somehow you will find it. When you've not developed that appetite to sleep with a lot of people, it will be easier to manage your sexual intensity in a marriage. But the moment you've done it with so many people, even when you want to say, okay, now I've changed, I'm trying to abstain or refrain, it will be really hard. So that would be my final words.
Wow, thank you so much. I believe that our audience have had a lot to learn and take home in the conversations today. On the first day, Dr. Victor had started a conversation about the part that respect plays. As we cap it up tomorrow and rounding up these conversations, we're going to take a dive into defining and redefining respect, what it means, and then what love is all about. Because there is a critical sense in which it helps you know whether you're wasting your time with a girlfriend and hindering yourself by yourself, on finding a wife. It is so profound. It's going to be a beautiful way to wrap up this conversation today. And Pastor Victor, thank you for your time, for your sacrifice, for your commitment to making this work. You know, we battle with technical issues, we battle with power outages because of our climb, we battle with network complications, throwing us in and out of what we're doing. But we're determined to get this message out, and that we have done, that we're doing, that we're going to do tomorrow. So I look forward to us wrapping this up tomorrow, and I believe it's going to be mega amazing. So see you tomorrow, and do have a wonderful night. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir.